Hi, everyone. I'm Pete Wright with LexJet, and I'm joined today with our in-house expert, Michael Clementi. Michael, how you doing?
As always, doing great, Pete. I love these things, so get going.
So today, we're going to be talking about one of the really cool things that I think a lot of people don't know you can do with an aqueous printer. Talking about window graphics.
Absolutely, yeah. Window graphics is one of those specialty items that you would never think you could use your Canon Pro Series or imagePROGRAF series printers to do.
Exactly. So let's just start by talking about just some of the materials that are out there that you can actually use that maybe people don't know. I mean, we've got perfs, we've got window clings, we've got films. So talk to me a little bit about why these materials will work on imagePROGRAF aqueous printers. What is it that makes them work?
Well, inkjet coating is a necessity, so everything that goes through a pigmented printer has to be inkjet coated. And the other thing is the ink, obviously, it has to be to go outdoors, to be water resistant, has to be fully pigmented ink. And Canon's making a great series of printers right now, the TM, the TX, which are 5 colors, printers. And then you can move into anywhere from 8 all the way up to 12 color printers with their GP series and their Pro series.
All right, so you mentioned the various models that are out there, the GP, the GPS, the TX, the TM, the Pro Series. Let's say you either have one of those machines and you're trying to determine if you can do this or not, or you don't have one and you're trying to determine which machine is right to purchase for these window graphics. What are the things that I need to know just jumping off in terms of helping me decide which printer is going to do best for me?
Well, the good news is that all of the materials we're going to talk about today for window graphics are all compatible with any line of the imagePROGRAF series that that we mentioned. So you can start by looking at what's right for your company in regards to the number of colors you want in the printer, right? So it's anywhere from 5 color with the TMTX all the way up to 11 colors with an optimizer for the Pro series. So, and if you want fluorescent, you can even go with the GP 4000 and have a little bit more of that extended gamut with the fluorescent ink.
So the colors, the gamut's kind of the big differentiator there.
Yes.
All right. So let's say I'm brand new. This is, or not necessarily brand new in business, but this is a brand new revenue stream that I'm looking at. I've never done this before. I don't know what things I need to be saying or what things I need to be asking a customer. So for the business that's new and wants to get into this, what does that conversation with the customer look like?
There's a lot of variables when it comes to window graphics. So you can either put them on the inside facing in, you can put them on the outside facing out, you could put them on the inside facing out. You can even do outside facing in, but that's obviously not as common. But another variable is, do you want to go direct to the window or do you want to have something that's suspended from the window? And you can talk about that with the customer. There's a couple things that you probably need to ask really is, where do you want this to go? Get a visual on it. How long is it going to be up for? You know, take a look at the sun, how much sun it's getting. That will tell you whether or not, the longevity of these things depends on UV. And you can expect anything from these products we're going to talk about. I would say you're in the 6 month to a year most at the max. With laminate, I would put it at a year. Without laminate, I would put it anywhere from 6 to 8 months on any of these products.
Okay, so you talked about lifespan, and that's going to be part of my next question. And this is probably the one that I think will surprise some people. Talk to me about some of the medias that are out there that are available that will print on imagePROGRAF printers and get a little into the lifespan that you can expect. Is it the same for all of them based on, like you said, whether they're laminated or not, or can it vary?
Yeah. So we'll start out with obviously, another question I forgot to throw in there was, do you want to be able to see through it? Right. Because some people want to have it almost like a privacy film where people can't see in, but they want to be able to see out. And
Mhm.
that's the window perf. That's the first, product that we'll talk about. And that's going to be a 70/30 pattern. It's called LexJet perforated window vinyl 70/30. And that product specifically, you can expect anywhere from 6 to 8 months on. That product is going to print, have a release liner that you're going to peel back and install. And we're going to give you some tips on that as well. And we do have videos available on our website for that. And actually, it's a pretty interesting product because that's one of those things where, man, it should only be a solvent latex or UV product, but we have one for those ProGraph series printers. It's really cool. It has a black backing to it so that when you peel it off and you stick it to the window, you can see perfectly out, but the people on the outside can't see in.
Yeah, I guess it's kinda like what you see when you see these buses, the city buses riding around, and the entire side of the bus is basically an advertisement for a company or a product. And you're like,
Exactly.
"Well, how do the people inside the bus see out?" And the first time you ride on one of those buses, you're like, "I could see right out this window like there's nothing there," but on the outside, you can't see in. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, it gives you some privacy from certain perspectives. If it's a school building, our children's school has window perf on the entire outside of the school office. So when you come up to the school, they can see who's coming up, but you cannot see in. So there's some really cool applications.
for sure. And you actually can laminate it too. So, I would personally, if you have already a setup for canvas and you're doing HPLP spray guns, I would use a liquid laminate on this stuff because it ends up being a little bit easier than a solid laminate to use. So you can use solid laminates also. There are different laminates. If you want to be able to see it through perfectly clearly, you need to use an optically clear laminate over the top. So if you use a regular laminate, it might be a little cloudy to see out. So you might see a shadow of a figure instead of a clear figure when you're using regular laminates on it. But liquid laminates work really well too. And I can tell you from experience, this one is going to be on the middle range level of a learning curve where I would definitely say, like, the first time before you do it, I would work with it to kinda understand how it's applied. Some of the install tactics for that are a little different than any of the other ones we're gonna talk about. So, because there's little holes punched in this stuff, you can easily stretch it if you pull on it too hard. So you really wanna do a foot at a time, and the video that we have shows you how to do that.
All right. So that's window perf. What
Yep.
else are the options?
The options for window, I would say the next one up I would talk about is LexJet's Print and Stick. And that product specifically is like the jack of all trades product where it works on windows, floors, walls, and it's a good one to have on your shelf. But um, you can contour cut those too, which is really nice. You can contour cut, print and stick. And normally, when you're doing contour cutting, you're going to see when you work with other types of fabrics that they end up fraying. No, because it's fabric, but the weave on print and stick is so tight that you can contour cut it and get nice clean edges, and then you could do custom shapes and put them on windows for discounts or sales or anything like that. And you can have them on the interior or exterior. You're probably looking at 6 to 8 months again with pigmented ink on the Pro Series printers and the ProGraph printers.
And then last but not least is films. You had mentioned films as an option.
Yeah, films, I would say, that's gonna be something you're not gonna go direct to the window with. You're going to kinda offset that from the window. You can, buy these things called IB rails, and they're actually clip-on rails that you can hang from the ceiling right in front of the window if you wanted to. Or you can actually take suction cups with S hooks and, make a banner up kind of hole there or even a grommet to hold it up and put those S hooks through there and you can hang it nice, facing the graphic side facing out towards the street that way without even going direct to the window. There's also some tapes that are out there that you can use that Lecture has. It's a window tape and it's optically clear and it's a strip 1 inch in uh, thickness, and then you can actually do just the four corners and put it up that way direct to the window, and it'll be removable.
Now, if it's going to be something that's maybe suspended from the away from the window or taped to the window, why would you choose a film over like a photographic paper or poster paper or something like that?
A film is going to be a lot better of an option because one, it doesn't absorb any moisture. So condensation, if something happens where it's too close to the window and touches the window, it's condensation, it doesn't absorb it and it doesn't become rippled with that moisture. But also, it's going to lay extremely flat because you want things that are in a situation where it's either hung from the top or just from the four corners. You want it to lay nice and flat. And films, we do have production display film, which would be my personal favorite because it actually is a mixture of polypropylene and polyethylene. And you basically have a nice blockout layer in the middle with that polyethylene. And it's a very tear resistant product. So you can puncture it with grommets and you can hang it up that way.
So I know we have a product called LexJet Extreme Aqua Vinyl. I don't know a lot about that one. Is that an option? I've heard you talk about it when it came to window displays before. Is that a good option? And what makes that different from some of the other ones? Tell me a little bit about that for somebody that's never heard of it.
Extreme aqua vinyl is going to be like a traditional sticker material. It's a rubbery vinyl base that has a removable adhesive on the back. So it's a solid product. Um, that's different from print stick because the print stick's a fabric. So the base is just different. And the reason it makes it more enticing for the exterior of the window is because that's the traditional use of adhesive vinyl is, outside because it doesn't absorb moisture. It's shrinking and expanding rate is very slow. It doesn't age, it doesn't actually deteriorate. It's a very good long-term product. I would say you can get a year plus if it's laminated outside with these inks that we're talking about. It's also a great option if you are going to laminate and then contour cut. And that's really where we see the main use of that product.
All right. So you talked about a lot of different medias here. You gave us how long they'll last, whether you should coat them or not. Let's talk about installation a little bit. Can you kind of cover each one that you talked about? And I know we talked about the film, so we don't probably need to go deep into the films again because we talked about the different ways of hanging it. But give me some tips and tricks on when we get into like the perfs and the different adhesives and things like that.
Sure.
I know I've made mistakes when I've done the biggest mistake I think I've made for sure. The first time I did anything that was adhesive, I peeled the backing off in one fell swoop and tried to stick it in his
You
right
can't
together.
do that with perf. Absolutely
No.
not.
So
No.
so talk to me about some common things that people make mistakes doing, and just some tips that people need to know when they're going through and they're installing some of these products.
Well, first tip is obviously take a small piece of it and work with it. That's the best tip I can give you for any of these adhesive back products because they're all different. They're all going to apply differently. They're all going to stretch differently. They're all going to go up differently. So take a piece, work with it. But I can start with the perf and, with your window graphics. Usually with a perf, you're doing the entire window pane, right? So one tip I can give to you is don't do the trimming on the window. Make sure you're precise on your measurements and then, design the file, put a little cut line around the exterior where those window panes are maybe an inset of a 16th of an inch. So you might have a sliver of the window showing on all four sides. That's going to be much easier than trying to put it up and then go and trim it while it's on the window. There's also rubber, that waterproof rubber that's around window sills. You can cut that with a blade and totally screw the window up.
And
for the
now you've got a
customer. So
window
now
repair guy coming out, and it's
yeah.
costing you a ton of
Right,
money.
right. So just inset your graphics enough that you're comfortable with the install. And then with perf, what I usually do is I'll work with a pretty good strength adhesive tape. Painter's tape, a little bit more extra tack than painter's tape. And what you want to do is basically get your pane aligned and then seam it, put a piece of tape probably 3/4 of the way up and also at the bottom edge. So like a couple feet from the end. And so if you can do it that way, what you're going to do is just peel the first 2 or 3 feet back of the liner. Keep the liner away. And actually, with this product, I would specifically wear cotton gloves because you can get a little bit of the ink from the liner onto your fingers if you don't. If you're not careful, just roll it up onto itself. Even having two people would help. If you got two people, great. If you don't, you could still do it yourself with the tape. And then basically go apply that first portion, peel the liner back evenly, and don't tug too hard. Like don't try to pull it up because those holes are perfectly circular. But if you start to see it become oval, if you tug too hard, so just release the liner a little bit at a time. Go smooth, keep tension on the product and go smooth with your squeegee. Use a felt tip squeegee. That's another tip. And then that should be it. Just all the way down, working it slowly, and don't put too much pressure on it.
Any specific products that they should be using to clean the window with before they start this process?
Great question. I always say a mixture of alcohol and water. So isopropyl alcohol, and then, probably like a 2-to-1 mixture, 2 parts alcohol, 1 part water, and then just wipe it down, let it dissipate, clean off it. And I would use Goo Gone if you've seen any of this, the little, adhesives that are left on from previous decals or anything like that. Just Goo Gone, get that off of there, and then wipe it with the ISO, and you're good.
Yeah, I gotta think that'd be one of the most annoying things in the world is to get the thing up, you get it perfect, and then you go inside and look, and there's like just smudges or stuff that are now behind it and it's stuck there. So what do you do?
Well, some of those people actually, they'll leave those perforated graphics up for way too long, and then you see the riverbed cracking kind of look. That's just because the vinyl ran out of plasticizer. It's way past its prime. I would definitely give that instruction to the customer and say, "Hey, let's talk the same time next year when we need to replace this. Let's get it off the window before it starts to be a problem if with taking it off." Right? So you should be able to get those off in one fell swoop. If it's a year, even 2 years in advance, obviously depends on the sun and how long it's been baking on there too.
All right, so we covered window perf. Any other installation ideas or tips on some of the other products that are out there?
Well, we went through and talked about print and stick, and I would say that's the probably the easiest one, and you've already worked with, right? You know it. Anybody who has worked with print and stick it's known for not even have to have a squeegee, just use your hand and put it up, right? Because it's got kind of almost a perforation in the material naturally because it's a fabric. So when you put it up and it traps a bubble underneath, you're just squishing the bubble out with your fingers. So that's one of the easiest products if you're looking to start to get into it to have on your shelf because the install is really easy. I mean, that's one of those things if you did make the mistake of pulling the whole liner off that you could probably recover from because if it sticks to itself, you can just pull it back off and
Oh,
so
and I've done that. I mean, it'll stick to itself, and you can unstick it and still use it, but it's not necessarily. I mean, it's a fight to get it apart.
yeah, I mean the adhesive's great. That you can do it. It's repositionable. So if you stick it down the wrong way or misalign it, even you can pick it back up, put it back down. So the other product would be Extreme Aqua Vinyl, right? The adhesive vinyl. And that I can give you tips on. If you've laminated it, this is a great tip. So if you've actually put a solid laminate on top, or even a liquid laminate on top, you could then use what's called a wet mounting process. And there's Marabou window juice, which we sell in LexJet. And that's a product where it's just a spray bottle. You just spray the window on the backside of the product. You could take the whole liner off. Actually, it depends on the size of the graphic. I would do half and half if it's a bigger graphic. But you can actually spray the window, spray the adhesive, and then position it. You can slide it on the window. So it's really nice for alignment because you don't have to worry about getting it perfect, like with tape and taping it down and then, a little bit this way, a little bit that way. No, I mean, you could just slide it up with your hands and put it in position and then squeegee out the fluid. You don't want to do that if you're not laminated with liquids or solid laminate because that product, even though it is water resistant, if you get any of that on the top of that, that's going to either stain it or it's going to cause the ink to flow a little bit with pressure. So that's a good tip there.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to the adhesive, I will call myself out. It was actually yesterday. I was in here in the studio with Heather, one of our video editors or video producers here, and we were actually putting a piece of the adhesive vinyl up on the wall to test it. And I immediately, first thing I did was pull the entire release liner off. And I knew I made the mistake when I did it because what we've always done is you peel like a few inches back, stick that up, get it straight the way you want. And then as one person's slowly pulling the release liner, somebody else is kind of sliding it and the hands work just fine. No, I did this. I pulled the entire thing off and then we go to stick it on the wall. And sure enough, as careful as we were, it stuck to itself. And I'm just sitting there like, "Oh, I did this. I know what I did. I made the mistake.
Yeah.
I've done this for years and I made the mistake." So
So the other tip I can give on that, and I just thought of it when you said that, is if you have a horizontal pane, work left to right. If you have a vertical pane, work top to bottom. So, you can basically roll it, like stick the first 3 inches, like you're talking about, roll that up, get to the last part of the release liner, and then peel it back and work, left to right that way. And the same thing with top to bottom. So if you're just peeling and sticking to align it at first, then basically roll it up from the bottom and then peel the liner back, keep tension on it while you're applying it. And it's pretty simple, but like I said, always take a 3-foot piece, put it on something yourself. Because that's the best experience you can give yourself is just practice makes perfect. Get it up, get your hands on it, know what you're dealing with. And each one of these products, like we said, is a little bit different than the other.
now, when it comes to whether these are inside or outside the window, which ones are for the inside and which ones are for the outside?
Well, you can use any which one you want on the inside because they're all going to last. But I would say the exterior, you probably wanted to stick to the perf or the extreme aqua vinyl. Those are the two best products for outside because they're made of vinyl. You can even get away with print and stick on the outside of the window, but you're probably a little bit less of a term. The adhesive isn't as strong on the print and stick as it is on the extreme aqua vinyl and the perf.
But when we're talking about outside, we're talking, I mean, these all print where the adhesive is on the back. So if you're putting them outside facing, then you have other considerations to make, especially when it comes to laminating. I mean, if it's
Yes.
going outdoors, if it's a window perf, it's going outdoors because the ink is on the outward facing surface.
Mhm.
Wherever it glues is going to go on the window, it's going to be facing out. So you really need to laminate that because unless
I
you're
would.
undercover.
I mean, yeah, it depends too. That's the conversation with the customer is like,
Mhm,
hey, you might have something going up for 2 weeks.
yeah, that's
Might
true.
be a promotional thing that you're putting it up for, and therefore don't think
Why
long term.
expense?
Don't
Yeah.
laminate it, right? You're wasting your money there. So I would just ask those questions right up front with the customer and just say, hey, you know what? What is this for? How long do you want it to be up for? Do you need different graphics when they come down? That's also repeat business too, because you're replacing those graphics. And that's why window graphics are such a great topic because they're always in need, especially if it's a storefront type of situation where they are promoting things and sales and that sort of thing.
So let's talk cost a little, and I don't want to get into numbers, but you mentioned something that made me think: is that a reasonable thing to consider? If somebody's putting something up for 2 weeks, is perf or are these products inexpensive enough that you can sell them a price point that somebody can say, "Yeah, I'll put that up for 2 weeks."
I think the most expensive product we've probably talked about is the perf because that is something that's specifically harder to manufacture, therefore it costs more. And that comes with a cost, but it also comes with a premium. You could sell it for a premium because it is perf. And I would say the price per square foot, you're probably talking with ink is just slightly over $2 a square foot, and you're selling window perf anywhere from 7 to 10 in the average range. So it's quite a good markup. And you're obviously billing for hourly on your installation too. So that's part of those things that you should definitely think about when you're talking to a customer and billing and setting up what you're gonna charge them for.
So let's get into some of the industries that somebody might consider. Okay, so this is brand new. You've just decided to add this revenue stream into your business. Who are the customers? What are the companies? What are the industries that they need to be approaching and saying, "Hey, this is something I do now. Would you be interested?" I mean, who do they go talk to?
I mean, it just depends on who you are as a company. If you're a photographer, you can even start talking to, your clientele already. And a lot of those are business owners, they own their own shop or they have a mom and pop store. I would say the target market is for this type of equipment and that type of material is a mom and pop owned storefront where they need that sort of thing. I mean, even flower stores, uh, restaurants, even mom and pop restaurants. There's a slew of people that are going to need that. And I've also seen a lot of people that have corporate offices that need it because you're talking glass window boardrooms and they want a little privacy in there. They want to obviously have people looking through and seeing who's in there or whatever. They need that privacy. They want something that's going to be blocking out where they can see in, and the perf is perfect for that example because they want to be able to still see out if somebody's coming up to knock on the window or something. But any product in those areas can make sense.
Yeah, I guess large chains and corporate chains probably not they're not ideal because those are usually being sent out from the corporate headquarters to
Right.
every location. So every location has the same look and
Yeah.
same feel. So you're right. I mean, the locally owned small mom and pop type shops, that's really kind of where it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're going to have a tendency. I think if this is a brand new revenue stream, you're going to like walk through a mall or walk through a shopping center, and you're going to like they have signs and they have signs and and they'll all buy signs from me, and then you have to sit back and say, but if you're Home Depot or you're Chili's or you're any of these places, those things are being printed somewhere for the entire
Yeah.
corporation
And they're
and
sent
then
out from
sent out.
one distribution
So,
center. Yeah.
but it is a good place to look for ideas and applications that maybe you didn't think of. Oh, that's a good place. I wouldn't have thought to put that there.
I even have a customer who has a Canon, and she is working with interior designers. She's been doing canvas for them forever, and that's kind of her main bread and butter with them. But then she's like, "Well, I really, somebody came to me with a window opportunity, and it's basically a home residential opportunity that she's putting canvas into, and you have this window. It's kind of in an awkward situation where it's in a weird position, and they want to have it as a decor item, not as a typical window see-through type of thing. It's more of, let's put something on it to make a match around it. And so she put the window perf on that. It was kind of crazy. I'd never seen it in that regard, but they were able to see out, not see in, so gave them a little bit of privacy. I've actually seen, customers like that are working also with restaurant chains and into like shopping plazas. I think that's a huge one. When you see a new store open that says coming soon, you should be hitting those people up, because those are huge window opportunities. Most of them, you have to obviously make sure that they can put stuff on the outside of their windows, or there is that predicament as well, that you need to make sure you're asking those questions with the customer, because some of those shopping plazas are locked down and putting stuff outside of their windows. So that's another tip I can give you when you're trying to hunt for those types of opportunities.
Now, one thing I know, and I can almost hear people screaming at the screen right now because we've talked about this a long time and I haven't asked the question. Can you put window perf on a car?
Yes, actually you can. That's one of those.
It's a window.
It is. It is a window, and typically, with this type of ink, as long as you're prefacing it with, "Hey, I'm going to put a laminate on this. If you put a laminate on it, you're going to get a year. If you don't, you're probably going to get 6 months or less, because of the way windows are. They're facing the sun most of the time." And you're leaving them out in the elements all the time. It's always getting sun. So the amount of UV that you're putting onto a product really matters in that regard. But you can do it. And especially if you're doing your own vehicle, you're saving yourself a ton of money, because those things, for probably a 4 foot by or a 3 foot by 6 foot pane, you're probably, what is that, 18 square feet. So you're probably at $36
Yeah,
to install
I think
yourself.
we've all been on the interstate. We've gotten behind these cars or these box trucks and panel trucks that they have the window perf on their windows, that it's been there a long time and it's faded, or any signage that's painted on a vehicle that's been there for more than a year, it starts to fade. It starts to, peel or whatever. So that happens. And I think it's not a product of it being an aqueous printer. It's a product of, it's like you said, it's sitting in the sun and the rain and the elements 24/7. No matter what, it's going to fade. It doesn't matter what technology you're using.
Yeah. I would definitely say, like, if you're going to get into the cars, especially, I would put a laminate over the top. It's just going to add longevity to the product. And yeah, I mean, it's a great opportunity for you to market yourself as well. Put your phone number on there, have people calling you for, "Hey, listen, I'm doing this. This is my job. I just put this on my car." That's what you saw when you called. It's one of those things that I offer now. So.
Mhm. Any specific software considerations with this?
Well, Canon has a professional print layout, and that's a free tool that they have. That's a great program that you lay out and print in. And obviously, you can use a RIP if you wanted to. I mean, you can use any software that will power those printers. There's a lot out there. I mean, if you want to talk, efficiencies and workflows, those programs can help you. The free programs definitely are great, and even the accounting tool we always talk about is great, because you can put your costs for the goods in, your costs for the inks, and you can compute it all out by the square foot, or by the print job, and then export it also. I think using the free tools from Canon would be the first thing I would tell you to do if you're really just starting up and you want to get a printer and start doing things for yourself. I think the free tools are really good, and they even have a free layout program that allows you to nest things and put things next to each other, so you're not wasting the material. So Canon's got great tools. I would say go there first. If it's not enough for you, then we'll talk to you about RIP software, because we have Print Factory. It's a great program as well, and along with a slew of other RIPs that we offer. Caldera, if you're Mac users, I mean, it list goes on. Onyx, I mean, Flexi, they're all there, and I'll do a great job.
All right. We're kind of to what's always our favorite part when we start talking about things that we've seen customers do, applications, ideas, just kind of spitballing here about things that I think when I look at it, I'm like, man, if I had never done this before and I was thinking about it, this is the part where we talk and we
Mhm.
just kind of give ideas from things we saw. My first one's going to be one I kind of already mentioned, and I noticed it when we took our kids to their new school. Our kids are in a brand new high school. They built it brand new. They were the first class ever there, and it was the first time I'd seen it. I mean, they've gone through half a dozen schools at this point from moving and things like that. We walked up to school to drop them off the first time, and all the windows and all the doors at the main entrance and then the side entrances had window perf up. And it was really cool. I mean, the school is the Eagles, so it had an eagle and it had the school logo. And it was really cool looking because it was seamless all the way across all the doors and windows as one display. It's under a cover,
Mm.
so it's not getting rained on. It doesn't get any direct sunlight. It's in the shade. And it gave the school a lot of privacy in terms of, especially with all the stuff that's going on in society today, you really have to be protective of kids. It's got to be really locked down. You can't just walk into a school, you got to go push a buzzer. Well, anything that gives them the opportunity to see what's coming before the person that's coming sees what's inside, you can't. I mean, I'll walk up to the school and I'm pushing the buzzer like, I hope somebody's in there. Well, they're in there, they can see me. Brilliant use. I mean, it's just one of those things that I'm sure lots of businesses are thinking that way. My mind just hadn't registered it.
Yeah.
So if you've got one of these machines and I mean, there's schools everywhere nowadays, and I'm telling you, unless it's a really new school, they're probably not doing that yet. So schools, great. I know there's another school nearby that we've worked with a lot, Riverview High School. They put this on their gym, and they didn't do it from a perspective of privacy, but they did it just so that they had the ability to put up something that you could see through, but had, their Rams branding on it, Riverview Rams basketball and
Mhm.
everything like that. So just being able to do things like that at a school, schools just are a great starting spot for something like this.
Yeah. And I actually that's a great topic because I think another of the things that we didn't talk about was how much sun stores are getting, right? So if something is getting just nailed by the sun, sometimes it bothers the people inside where they're like, "Man, everybody that comes in here is like blinded by these windows. Like you can't, you can't get away from it." So I actually, saw a florist that was on a main street. She's had nothing in her windows, and she went to one of our customers and said, "Hey, look at the front of my shop. Like I'm on a busy avenue, but I'm set back a little bit." And I want something that actually reaches the street. I want people to see it from a distance. So they went in, they looked at it. They said, okay, well, up top, because that's where all the sun's coming in, let's put something solid there to block it out. Right. And then at the bottom, let's use something see through so you can actually see out. So they put the extreme aquavinyl up top, they put the perf on the bottom. And she did, wedding flowers and had a different bride in each window holding a different bouquet. And then on the bottom, they just had this one huge tiled image that was all the way through, close ups of flowers, looked really beautiful on the bottom, lots of color. So, really shine on the Canon printer that she was using.
And I bet you, I mean, you got to think if it's a storefront that's facing out where the sun is pounding it all day, if you do something like that, it's probably cutting your electric bill quite a bit too. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
the amount of sun, I mean, you're cranking the AC up during the hot
Yeah,
summer months.
you're putting a vinyl film protecting over the window pane.
I mean, it pays for itself at that point. I mean, you got to figure the amount that you're probably going to knock off of your electric bill during the summer because you don't have to run your AC as hard.
Yeah. Last tip, it just came to me when you were talking about the sun is another tip I can give. The last one I'm going to give is when you're doing window installations, period, you want to do it in a situation where there's not a lot of sun hitting the window is not hot. Because when the window is above a certain temperature, like 80, 85 degrees, then you start to activate the adhesive. The strength of the adhesive actually becomes higher tack when you put it down on something hot, and it actually makes for a harder time installing. So if I can tell you one other thing would be do your installation, schedule them before it starts to get hot outside. And when we're in Florida, I mean, it gets hot in the summer really fast. here. And I mean, even in like Arizona, places like that, where you just got to get out there early or get out there in the evening and do those installations.
Any other good spots or places you've seen that are kind of unique that might open our minds up to ideas?
I mean, I did see a really cool one where they had a jump and fun type of situation, was a bounce house. And they had the bounce houses on the bottom actually printed, and then they had the kids up in the air jumping up in the top windows kind of thing, where it looked like they had jumped off the bounce house into the upper window. So it kind of looked kind of cool in that regard. I saw another one where there was a set of eyes watching, so like you drove by and it looked like the eyes were following you. It was kind of cool that they did that with the windows. I just think making it fun is one of those things too. Like, come up with some really creative ideas, because you can customize anything now. You've got the Photoshop AI. You could put a dinosaur in the mountains if you wanted to. You can come up with really cool design. That really is. That's the thing, is with Windows, you just want to make it eye popping. You want to catch their attention any way you possibly can, so that they look and they say, "Oh, what was that? I never saw that before. It's kind of new." I mean, that's the benefit of changing graphics out too. You can change the look of your storefront anytime you want. Inside, it just depends on what you can theme a whole room with that stuff. You can do the walls one thing, continue on with the windows.
Mhm.
So I have seen that where they'll just do a whole mural. It'll go above and below the window, but it'll also be going on the window as well.
Yeah, one of the tips that you gave in one of our previous webinars that I loved that really works well for the film, the window film, don't date it. If it's for a storefront and it's for an Easter sale, don't put Easter 24 sale or Easter 2025 sale or whatever. Because if it's grommeted and you've got like little suction cup hooks or something holding it because it's offset,
Right.
well, you use that same like
Roll it
do
up, store it.
do an entire year's worth of those things and, roll it up, hang the next one, and you just use those exact same suction cups with hooks and just you're constantly changing it out. I mean, that's the one nice thing about the window films is that you can roll it up and reuse it over and over, whereas the rest of them, they're adhesives. For the most part, when you peel those, they're done. That's
Yeah.
it. You're not getting any more use out of those.
Yep.
So I mean, that's one of the things we didn't talk about as a differentiator in the film versus the adhesives is that they're reusable
Great
over and
point.
over again.
Yeah,
Just
that's a great point.
save them. So,
For sure.
well, Michael, this is great as always. It's fantastic. Thanks for sharing with us. I look forward to being back with you again next month when we cover our next topic.
Sounds great.
If you're interested in any of the Canon imagePROGRAF printers and ways they can help you get started in your window graphics trip, give us a call at 800-4LEXJET. And for all of your printer and supply needs, check us out, lexjet.com.